I'm writing this essay. It's a work in progress about an idea of what would happen if a machine would be able to create something which we as humans would probably find or define as being aesthetically sound, superior, and pleasing. I guess we would probably define that as beautiful. Yes, that's it. What if a machine was able? What if a machine had the capacity to create something beautiful? It's not a new idea, I believe. There might be machines out there right at this very moment that can actually create beautiful things, but I just wanna try to figure out if AI has anything to do with this or can contribute. Now this machine might have some form of artificial intelligence, but then again we can opt to think of it as a totally automatic scripted machine. It doesn't have to have AI. Basically it just does things according to a specific set of rules, a recipe. But let's take the example that it actually has some form of AI, and then because of that AI it creates something beautiful. A more concrete example of this is, let's try to picture a robot, an anthropomorphic robot. When I say that, I mean a robot that has hands, obviously, that can grasp tools, and then eyes to look or to see. And then that anthropomorphic robot starts chiseling away at a granite block, and in a few minutes it starts the granite block starts forming into a recognizable human bust, a human figure. The bust, head until the chest area. So question now is, who created the sculpture? And probably a better question is, who owns it? This is a question of creator and ownership. Who created the work of art? Do we automatically assume that the one who created the machine that created the work of art is the owner? And the definition of creator is also a problem here. So I think the reason why it bothers me is because this is too forward. It's too futuristic for some other people to think about machines that actually create art. But then if we look back in human history, in the history of human civilization, there were actually instances wherein such situations are parallel to what I'm talking about right now. For instance, there was actually a time in human existence wherein, yes, that concept wherein something that you did not create is your property simply because someone you own created that. I'm talking here about the concept of slavery, which throughout the years, in recent human history, we have tried to totally stamp out of our values. We say nowadays that slavery is a bad thing, but there was a period in human history wherein that was perfectly okay. When your slave creates something, that thing, that work of art that your slave created is actually, you can actually claim ownership, and you can actually even claim to a certain extent that you created it because you are the one who owned the slave. Maybe I'm trying to stretch the argument too far here, but basically I think you know what I mean. So what I'm trying to figure out here is, Who owns the work of art? Who created it? There's this other example we can get from the music industry. There are experimental musicians out there, especially in the area known as electronica or ambient music or trance. There are musicians out there that actually program or write algorithms, the flow of a computer program, to produce complex and elaborate, aesthetically pleasing music, all because they allow the algorithms to combine and recombine predefined patterns with random ones, and then creating these really nice melodies. So, but when you ask the composers of this music on the question of who owns the music, they would automatically tell you that they own it because they're the ones who created it, even though it was prearranged and they're not exactly putting in the notes themselves. They would still argue that the machine that was used to create all of this was owned by them. So therefore, the output which is of value now, because it's pleasing to somebody else, was created by the owner of the machines that created those sounds, the music. So again, we have that problem here wherein the machine was in fact the one creating the sounds because it had those things, the algorithms and everything, and then but the thing is, what if that piece of software used to create the music became smart enough to actually figure out how to combine those melodies and tracks and samples into coherent sound? Again, we go back to the question is of who created the music. Is it the machine or the creators of the machine? I think I'm going to stop at this point because this is actually becoming too one-sided. It would be better if this was a real discussion, because I know I'm missing some points here. Maybe I'm not that well versed as regards to ownership laws. I mean, how do we define in the modern world ownership is? Maybe this is a legal question more, but I still, from a philosophical standpoint, I'm just curious on who really owns what. And the main reason behind it is, in simulated worlds, whoa, yes, that was lightning, I mean thunder, but there was a flash there, lightning. I guess God is angry, better stop.